Hey everyone, welcome back. I adore video game music, and always will. There's always been something so kinetic about music composed for video games compared to movies or TV shows, and I think a reason why is because video games are a medium that give the audience a lot of freedom. Depending on skill level, fighting a boss battle or trekking from one place to another could be as short as a few minutes to as long as over an hour. Because of this, the musical pieces surrounding these events have to be crafted so they not only fit with the scene, but can also adapt to the changes the player makes and loop naturally so they can be listened to for potentially hours on end. With movies and TV shows, on the other hand, the tracks are crafted to be listened to in a very specific way. These types of media are fixed, linear narratives and are meant to be consumed exactly how the creators intended without much input from the audience. So, while I do find myself listening to a couple of my favorite tracks from films I adore, I always return to video game music. Compared to many other game franchises, I wouldn't say Five Nights at Freddy's as a series is well known for its musical scores. The music that people tend to know better are the fan-made songs that have come from the community. There are literally hundreds of fan-made FNAF songs, with the genre being pioneered by The Living Tombstone back in 2014. The songs that have sprung from the community have been ingrained into pop culture, reaching the mainstream and being regarded as great music even if they're related to a horror game franchise. The subgenre became so popular, in fact, that the Living Tombstone's fan-made FNAF songs were used as the official ending credit themes to both of the movies. And while the fan songs are great, one of the drawbacks of their popularity is how they overshadowed much of the official music from the franchise. The official tracks that have come from the main series were never anything groundbreaking. The first two games barely had any music save for the title screens, and most of the original games lacked tracks that stuck out. The newer games under Steelwool have had some really good music, especially Security Breach. For all its faults, it probably has some of the best themes to come out of the series in recent time. But there was one track from the first few games that I listened to and immediately knew that it was my favorite the series would produce. It's one that I've returned to and listened to for years, and over time I've noticed that others have latched onto it as well. So today, I really want to talk about why I love it so much. Before we begin, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and hype the video if you can. Comment down below what your personal favorite track from the series is. I'm curious to see what other people really enjoy. But today, I want to talk about what I perceive to be the best official music track in Five Nights at Freddy's, a short track that's featured in the original ending to the series, Five Nights at Freddy's 3. While the first two games did have some music, they were only played on the title screens and ending screens. The creator, Scott Cawthon, was never a musician, and he had to work within his limitations. Because of this, all of the music in the first four entries are all from royalty-free websites. Once the games were ported to console and reported to phones, the title and ending themes were swapped out for more appropriate music made custom for the series. That being said, Five Nights at Freddy's 3 was the first game to feature some more music tracks through its gameplay, but they weren't present in the nights. A lot of the depth from FNAF comes from listening to audio cues, so music was never a part of the main gameplay. All 6 of the original games had simple creepy ambiance during the nights, with the 7th game, Ultimate Custom Night, being the only outlier. These new tracks that feature in FNAF 3 were only present in the minigames. To get the true ending, the player had to discover and beat a set of secret minigames. They were pretty tricky to find, but with a fanbase as active as FNAF, it wasn't long before each were discovered. These secret minigames all featured unique music box covers of famous orchestral pieces, mostly written before the 19th century. This didn't really feel out of place considering Freddy Fazbear's music box in FNAF 1 is the Toreador March, and the Puppet's music box in FNAF 2 is My Grandfather's Clock, both being famous classical pieces from the 1870s. On night 1, you can unlock BB's Air Adventure, which features a music box rendition of Faites-le mais à vous, originally released in 1859 by Charles Gounod. On night 2, you can unlock Mangle's Quest, which has a rendition of The Fox Hunter's Gallop released in the 1870s by Marion. Night 3 lets you unlock Chica's Party, that includes a rendition of traditional folk song released in an unknown year by an unknown composer. Night 4 has a secret Stage 01 minigame featuring the first ever appearance of Fredbear and Spring Bonnie that has a music box recreation of Swan Lake Conclusion. This is probably the most well-known track due to Swan Lake being one of the most popular ballets of all time. It was released by Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky in 1875 or 1876, depending on the source. There's also an extra secret minigame present on all nights titled Happiest Day that can only be beaten after completing the minigames in the main 5 nights. It features another music box rendition of a classical song, that being Waltz in A Major composed by Johannes Brahms in 1865. All of these tracks are great in their own way. Each music box rendition fits the minigame it's a part of perfectly, but none of them really stuck out to me personally. I liked them all, but I didn't form a connection to any of them. To me, they were just filler music, generic happy sounding themes with a creepy edge to fit the series' identity. But the minigame and theme on Night 5? Well, that's where everything changed. To access the minigame on Night 5, you have to find this figurine on your desk and double click on it. From its outline, we can tell that the figurine is supposed to resemble Toy Bonnie, but in a blackened, shadowy state. Starting the minigame puts you back on Stage 01 from the Night 4 minigame, but you aren't playing as Fredbear like before. Instead, you play as this purple, creepy, familiar-looking bunny sprite. This is one of the secret animatronics that was hidden in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, Shadow Bonnie, though that's just a fan name based off of his visual appearance. His real name is RWQFSFASXC, or WQFSFASXC if you want to be fancy. That's a bit too much for me to say every time, so we're gonna call him RXQ for short. RXQ's minigame is not officially named, but the fanbase usually refers to this as the glitch minigame, and it is unlike any of the others. In the previous minigames, when playing as an animatronic, you could only glide left to right or jump, but if you move as RXQ, his sprite will glitch out and be split apart. This means that out of all the secret characters, RXQ is the only playable character with a walk cycle, technically. RXQ also has a unique power. If you keep pressing on the jump button, he can glitch into the air and fly upwards. You could just leave through the door, but the reason why this is called the glitch minigame is because you can glitch into the previous minigames from the other nights. Overall, this is a really cool and unique minigame, but the minigame itself isn't the reason why I made this video. The glitch minigame features a track that stuck out to me for years, one that has stayed with me for over a decade after this game released. This is the track. This track is unlike the rest of the music from this game. Each of the previous minigames featured a music track that had bright, happy undertones. They all had sharp, loud notes that evoked the feeling of happy childhood memories. The music box renditions made them all sound a little creepy, but that's on par with the series. But this is different. It doesn't give off joyous, happy undertones at all. It sounds somber, gentle. The notes are soft and could even be considered relaxing in a way. It doesn't match up with any of the other tracks, and considering this is the track used for a mysterious, evil-looking character like RXQ, it raises a lot of questions. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of answers if you were to look in FNAF 3 itself. I think a lot of people assume that these music box covers were chosen at random, just to have some background noise to set these secret minigames apart from the main night gameplay and the standard between night minigames. But I think it would be worth it to look into the history of the original song this track is sampled from, and to listen to the original song as well. That's why I brought in a special guest for today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to welcome pianist Botao Mo, who will be playing the entire original music to be listened to while we talk. The original music piece is part of the composer's final collection during his lifetime, Schwanige-Song D957. The song itself is named Stanchen in its native language of German, but it's known in English as Serenade. It was composed by Franz Schubert in 1828. You might know Schubert from his most notable composition, the prayer Ave Maria. The original meaning behind Serenade has been contended, but the most famous interpretation is that it expresses the hope of deep love and constant yearning under a moonlit sky. The low, gentle notes echoing the melancholic feelings of wanting to be with someone that doesn't feel the same. It's a beautiful song if you listen to it fully. The collection's title, Schwanengesang, roughly translates to Swan Song, meant to signal this as Schubert's final musical testament before his death in November of 1928. Serenade, alongside the other 13 compositions in the Schwanengesang collection, would be released in 1929, a few months after Schubert's death. In a way, you could say that the music has now taken on a new meaning. They are all now a requiem to his memory, a collection of phenomenal tracks in remembrance of a great musical genius. I believe that this meaning could be applied to not just the glitch minigame, but to what all of the secret minigames amount to. Each of these secret minigames feature an alternative objective besides just simply beating them. They all have a ghostly crying child hidden out of the way of the main objectives. If you find them, you can give the child a cake, and the minigame ends. The 5 ghosts are of course supposed to represent the 5 children that died due to the main villain, William Afton, killing them and stuffing them into the animatronics of the series. These minigames are supposed to be your way of giving these children the birthdays they never had, all eventually leading to the 6th and final minigame. Finding all 5 children will unlock the real ending to the Happiest Day minigame. This minigame finally lets the children's souls have a party after William Afton's death, and all of them finally get to pass on, going to heaven after being trapped in animatronic limbo for so long. So, what does this have to do with RXQ and the glitch minigame? Well, I believe the glitch minigame is meant to be the culmination of everything in FNAF 3. You see, the glitch minigame's music is the only one of all the minigames to have an extremely popular fan name. Most fans refer to the theme as Bonnie's Lullaby. With the new context I discovered about the original song, I believe this is a fitting name, because, in a way, RXQ is supposed to represent a version of Bonnie. Each of the playable characters in the 5 minigames reflect a different animatronic from the original game. We have an extra like Golden Freddy through Balloon Boy, a Foxy through Mangle, a Chica through Toy Chica, a Freddy through Fredbear, and a Bonnie through RXQ. Theoretically, you could apply different labels to each of these. RXQ could also reflect Golden Freddy since both are secret animatronics, but I feel like the point still stands. Each of these characters that were picked from the minigames reflect one of the animatronics that have been possessed by the ghostly victims of Afton. RXQ's minigame is the final one of the main nights. His is the culmination of all the others, a final step to finally move on. Similar to how you could perceive Serenade as a requiem to Schubert's memory, I believe Bonnie's Lullaby and the glitch minigame are a requiem to the victims of Afton. RXQ's acts are a final swan song to the children's memory before they have their happiest day. The theme sticks out so much because all of the other minigames represent happy, blissful memories for the children. Memories revolving around positive experiences at Freddy's before their lives were ended so abruptly. But there are no happy memories in this final minigame. Instead, we look back on these once happy memories with a nostalgic, sad, bittersweet, yet comforting tone. Bonnie's Lullaby reflects the reality of what these memories now represent, happy moments tainted by one man's evil actions. Bonnie's Lullaby isn't just a simple sad song, it's gentle, almost relaxing. The music is calming and blissful, but still keeps that somber tone. It's gorgeous in a way I can't fully put into words. It's interesting that out of all the variants to choose from, it was RXQ that was chosen to not only represent Bonnie, but to be the character you play as in the final minigame that unlocks the true ending. A secret animatronic that has a 1 out of 16,000 chance to encounter in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. An animatronic that we know next to nothing about and has appeared in very few games. Not only that, but in the minigames, he's the only playable character that has a walk cycle, the only one with a special power, and the only one to feel alive. Almost like he's not actually an 8-bit minigame character like the others, almost like we're playing as RXQ himself, not a representation of him. For the longest time, I always considered RXQ as just another antagonist, another animatronic to add on to the massive amount of animatronic enemies we've already seen. After all, he looks scary, evil, dark, but his minigame doesn't represent anything to that extent. The music is gentle, his actions are noble, he's presented so differently from how we as a community perceive him. It's fascinating because the suit that Afton used to lure the children into the back room was a spring Bonnie suit, a cute, happy-looking yellow bunny that hid sinister intentions behind a creepy, uncanny smile. After looking more into the history of Schubert's Serenade and how it was used in FNAF 3, being turned into Bonnie's Lullaby, I believe RXQ is supposed to represent a more positive version of Bonnie, the same character that Afton twisted and used for his own evil plans. Afton inside of Spring Bonnie is a wolf in sheep's clothing, but RXQ is the opposite. He's not here to hurt the children. Despite his scary appearance, he's trying to save them, to give them their happiest day. Could RXQ represent an angel, a force for good that protects innocent souls, one that dons a terrifying appearance to ward off evil? Back in FNAF 2, if you're one of the lucky ones and encounter RXQ, he doesn't jump scare you or kill you. Instead, he crashes your game unless you throw on the Freddy head or pull up your monitor. He chucks the player out of the game. He saves them from getting jump scared. In the FNAF 3 Between Night minigames, you can find RXQ off to the side, foreshadowing his future appearance, watching over you even though you can't see him normally. In my personal opinion, I think this minigame and the music attached to it are attempting to show that RXQ is not your enemy. He's a protector, a guardian. RXQ is here to save the last child, the one that's nearly impossible to get to. He breaks the rules of the minigames by glitching and clipping his way through the skyboxes to get to him. RXQ is not supposed to be here. This minigame is not supposed to be here. This beautiful music is not supposed to be here. But he pushed through everything to find this child, to give this child their happiest day. All while he does this, a simple, sad, peaceful, nostalgic yet bittersweet lullaby is playing in the background, encouraging this poor, innocent soul to finally rest. A final requiem to Afton's victims, longing for what could have been, looking back on positive memories with a nostalgic somberness, all while being comforted as they move on to something greater. Was this all considered when Five Nights at Freddy's 3 was being made? Probably not. Serenade was probably chosen because it was a nice track and nothing more, but I like to view it as something greater. I like to view it as a final send-off to the innocent victims of Freddy's, a requiem, a serenade, a lullaby that finally lets them rest now that the monster is gone, and this whole time, the thing that we thought was just another antagonist was something greater, something kinder. I hope you found just as much beauty in Bonnie's lullaby as I did. Thank you so much for watching. I want to give one more special thank you to Botao for his incredible piano rendition of Serenade. He did a fantastic job. If you enjoyed this video, a subscribe and like would be greatly appreciated. I'd also love to hear your thoughts on all of the music in the Five Nights at Freddy's series in the comments below. I read every single comment I get, and I adore seeing the discussions. I think I'm gonna go and take a rest while listening to Bonnie's lullaby. Stay tuned for more videos soon. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye bye!